I am so sick of these Yankers. I don't even care if it sounds like a slur. These Yankers are driving me crazy. No, I'm not talking about the New York Yankees. If you're looking for baseball media where someone is tired of the Yankees, I would refer you to the last 100 years of baseball media. No, I'm talking about catcher framing, the skill of lying to umpires by receiving pitches in such a manner as to influence their call. The idea is simple. Pitcher throws pitch outside the strike zone, but catcher receives the ball in a manner that leads the umpire to believe said pitch was actually a strike, and then they call it a strike, and then the hitter contemplates a career change. Now, is it ethical to gaslight these umpires? Well, that depends on a few factors. Is the umpire neurodivergent? Is the umpire literally a minor? Is the umpire just a small bean? Is Blue an oppressive authority figure or a necessary arbiter in modern society? I find that all these deep philosophical questions can be answered by one simple one. WWJD, what would Jose do? That Jose is, of course, Jose Molina. Although his brother Yachty has the most framing runs since 2008, when such a stat could exist via pitch tracking technology, Jose is much more impressive on a rate basis. For every 1,000 innings that Jose Molina caught, he saved over 35 runs through his framing alone. The best defenders in MLB in any given season might save 15 or 20 runs with their glove. If Jose Molina was catching full seasons, he'd be doing twice that with framing alone. I can't say with certainty that he's the GOAT framer. The concept of smooth receiving has always existed, even well before framing was tracked. Who am I to say that Jose Molina is definitely a better receiver than Johnny Bench or Yogi Berra, but he is the definitive best receiver since the concept could be quantified. And yet, when you watch Jose Molina frame, it looks like he isn't actually doing anything. It just looks like he's catching the ball like any old catcher would. And that's the brilliance. That's the genius. A couple years ago, he was on the only good podcast to ever exist, Effectively Wild. So was I, not to brag, but here's how Molina described his framing style in an interview with Ben Lindbergh.
At my time, I was really quiet. If you see my videos, I barely move stuff.
Yes.
I was really quiet. I mean, I'm really happy to knowing by a good framing guy too, but for sure not a guy that moved the glove a lot. That wasn't me.
And here's how he described the style of receiving that's being taught by MLB organizations today.
These days, comes with everybody's moving the glove. It's incredible how guys try to move the glove. You know what? That's the way we're going these days. I think front office people like it. That's not my way.
See, Jose Molina was quiet, subtle. When I say I'm sick of the Yankers, I'm talking about the framers who are loud, because no matter what, all they do is yank right into the middle of the strike zone. Pitch over here, yank it to the very middle of the zone. Pitch over there, catch it and yank it. It's so obvious that they're trying to get one over on the umpire. When you watch these Yankers attempt to frame a pitch, that's just slop. It's just mindless slop, like a foolish baseball video essay. But when you watch Jose Molina attempt to frame a pitch, that's cinema. It tells a story. It's subtle. It's nuanced, like a foolish Bailey Furries video. Even though he's the best to ever do it, you don't see his style much nowadays. It's just yank the pitch to the middle, yank the pitch to the middle, yank the pitch to the middle. Just a lot more movement involved. The closest thing we have to a Jose Molina type player in today's MLB might just be Austin Hedges. Both are terrible hitters, but both have made a living and stayed in demand because of what they bring to the table defensively, and framing is a big part of that. Since 2020, he has the second most framing runs in the game, behind Jose Trevino. But here's the thing. When I watch Austin Hedges frame, he's nothing but a no-good, low-down, dirty yanker. Sorry, that one sounded like hate speech. Yank, yank, yank. So I'm starting a yanking to framing spectrum, and you, Austin Hedges, you, sir, are a yanker. I can't argue with the results of your yanking, but you're a yanker nonetheless. What happened to the game I love? Back in my day, framing used to be a fun little sabermetric secret. People would ask, why does Jeff Mathis still have a job framing? Why does Jose Molina still have a job framing? Why does Foolish Bailey still have a job? Because you're still watching. Speaking of Foolish Bailey, how about Patrick Bailey? He's the new defensive catcher superstar on the scene. Well, his framing is still loud, but it's not as loud as Austin Hedges. There are plenty of egregious over yanks, but some are more tactful depending on location. Again, can't argue with the results. Combined with his ability to control the run game, he may just be the most valuable defender overall in the entire league. Jose Trevino? Sometimes I like what he does horizontally, but on pitches above or below the zone, he's still doing a little too much for my tastes. That said, the man's a platinum glover. And finally, JT Realmuto. Admittedly, I like how it looks. He struggled with framing earlier in his career, then was elite. But last year, negative 14 framing runs, the second worst in the league according to StatCast, but his framing is so beautiful compared to most catchers today. And that's ultimately the problem. Not to pick on anyone in particular, but a year ago made the cut, did a nice short on the best framing catchers in baseball, and one of the top comments reflected a popular sentiment, one that Jose Molina himself would probably agree with. The key is not moving the mitt too much. Oftentimes a catcher will move the mitt so obvious that no one believes it's a strike. I don't think that's true. I think umpires continue to award the yankers like Austin Hedges. Of course, he's not getting every single call, but by yanking everything, he's effectively taking more attempts to steal strikes without being penalized for gratuitous yanking. And with that comes excellent framing metrics, and with that comes jobs in Major League Baseball, despite the fact the man can't really hit, and with that comes opportunities to secure wealth. Oftentimes, the pursuit of winning in baseball has aesthetic consequences. A walk is as good as a single in most situations, but the latter is more exciting. It's good for home run hitters to take big swings and try to hit the ball in the air, but they strike out more. It's fun to watch pitchers pitch deep into games, but there is a clear third time through the order penalty. The act of trying to win a baseball game and trying to play a beautiful baseball game are at odds with one another. Sometimes that can be fixed by changing the rules and shaking up the metagame. Stolen bases are great, but they need to be stolen efficiently to have a positive effect, so the league made it easier to steal bases. Diving infield stops are great, they're web gems, but the shift was making those plays routine by having fielders standing in the spot where the ball would be hit to begin with. So, the league limited the shift. The only thing that can definitely get rid of the yankers is robo-umps, the automated ball strike system used in AAA last year, but that has its own aesthetic consequences, including eliminating the skill of pitch framing entirely. I don't want that. I enjoy the skill of pitch receiving. I enjoy Jeff Mathis types. I enjoy Jose Molina types. I even enjoy Austin Hedges types, even if the framing is a little louder. But seriously, some of you catchers out there, you're seriously yanking it. Totally get why you're doing it, I just don't love it. If you want to see some of this yanking in action in person, you're probably going to need pretty good seats, and luckily SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FOOLISH at checkout for $20 off your first order. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, you can make a new account or use a different credit card, and many orders can be your first order, but use code FOOLISH at checkout. You can use it for baseball games this upcoming season. You can use it for all other sports like NBA, or you can use it for concerts, Broadway shows, and comedy shows. Again, FOOLISH at checkout, $20 off. Thank you, SeatGeek.